So hi everyone, this is Prasad. I'm the co-founder at LetsUpgrade, and we are back with yet another podcast. And this time we have Soudamini, who is a software engineer and a data scientist, and over 2 decades of experience in the whole industry. Starting her journey from a tier 3 college to Microsoft and beyond, and now a very influential mentor in the field of data science. Right, she has also curated few courses. She talks about building stuff in data science, helping students, mentoring them, and making sure they are the best in their place, right? So the whole discussion today is going to revolve around Soudamini's whole journey from a student to also graduating from IIT to Microsoft. What motivated her? What is the whole journey? What challenges did she face, and all that stuff, right? So today, stick around till the end of the podcast, and we are going to learn a lot of things from her about her journey, right? So hi Soudamini, thank you for joining us. How are you?
Thank you, Prasad. I'm doing good. Hope everyone is doing good.
Yeah. So just to tell you, students are very excited they get very excited about this podcast where they get actually to meet industry folks and learn from them. So before we start off, right, I would just love to hear about your journey. So as we know that you started your journey from Tier 3 college in Andhra Pradesh, SRKR Engineering College, right? So from a tier 3 BTech college to Microsoft, right? What is the whole journey, if you could tell, and how, like, a brief intro about you, enough that if you could explain the whole journey from becoming a student, from a software developer, and now a data scientist over decades of experience.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, whoever is watching it, and thanks for the session. So if I recollect the old days, I started my BTech from Bhimvaram, which is a town in Andhra Pradesh. And for me, honestly, that time the only goal was to get to the same college because my brother was already studying. So my target was set. So I had to get enough MSET rank, which is the local entrance examination for engineering, so that I could make it to computer science. Honestly, I haven't used women reservation also. For my rank, I could have gotten for in general category computer science, and I have joined there. So I also came from a conservative family. So my parents were also not willing me to send me out to a different location for studies. So the entire family shifted for us. So that was one reason why I wanted to be in the college and then continue the studies. And the reason for choosing computer science back then, it was my parents thought that, yeah, if it is computer science, you can work from home. So the scenario that we are seeing, all the remote work and all, it was envisioned back then, and that was one of the biggest reason why I chose computer science back then. And honestly, when I joined college, I haven't seen PC till then. First time I have
Okay.
seen computers in the college, and then you can't even imagine the speed with which the computers used to operate. They were very, very, very damn slow. And I got access to Google only in my final year. And internet was not a easy thing then, so we had to pay like $50 per an hour, 50 to $60, get to cyber cafe and copy everything on one floppy disk, just upload it as an email if we have to send some emails, and then again get the response in that floppy drive, come back home and then read it. So that used to be the speed of the world that we used to operate back then. That was in 2001 when I graduated from BTech.
So I believe, like, as you mentioned, that whole process of like floppy disk and all that stuff. So when we were students, I guess that was the time when floppy disk was, I guess, rarely used. But most of the times, the reason why we guys have used cyber cafes, most people
Hmm.
like playing games. So as you
Yes.
mentioned, right, there's a lot of tech evolvement that has happened over the years, and access to technology has become, you can say, more easily available. The tech, all the ecosystem is more easily available in the facilities, right? So the thing is, you can say, how, like, what motivated you to choose computer science, because I guess, because the thing is, back then, as you mentioned, right, there was no one to guide you, there was no one to counsel you, there was no one to tell you about the career paths. So what made you choose computer science as your career, or what motivated you to pursue that path in the whole thing? Okay, I want to become a software engineer, or I want to make some contributions in the tech economy, because I guess back then it was not that evolved as it is evolved right now, right? So what was that, you can say, point where you decided, okay, I want to become developer or something of that sort?
Hmm. So, honestly, when I started my studies in my schooling days, initially my father was little skeptical to send me for higher studies. He was like, yeah, let her do things at peace, and then she'll get married, and then do some okay kind of job. Why do you need to put so much stress on her? So I came district second for my district in class 7. That's when my parents kind of realized that, oh, there is something more for her, so we should encourage her to pursue further. And I remember when the press came for this interview, I told them that I want to become IAS. So that was,
Okay.
they asked me like, what do you want to become? And then that was the biggest thing, right? I want to become IAS. I had no clue. So next day I went to school, and my teacher asked me, what is IS? Tell me the abbreviation of IS. I didn't even know A to Z of IS, because that was the buzz thing that I just mentioned it,
Correct.
right? So after that, if you see the next 2 years, whoever comes in the state first, they used to say, I want to become computer engineer. So, and obviously computers was the first branch, right? There was more demand for computer science than any other branches. So the choice was obvious that, yeah, we have to be on the top branch, because yeah, the more demand it has, so we'll have better career prospects. And the second thing that I mentioned, my parents were also like, if you take mechanical, that was the perception, right? You have to work outside in the field, or in the civil engineering you have to work in the fields. In computer, so you can sit at home and then work on it, right? So honestly, like you said, I did not have any mentors or seniors to guide me how the computer engineering works. What
Hmm.
exactly will you do there? No clue. Just entered the field and then learned on the field. That's all. But I have thoroughly enjoyed the programming part of it. So that used to give the real fun in the computer science field. So our
Ju-
professor, our HOD, he's just retired. I have met him recently also, Padmaraj Garu.
Mhm.
He
Okay.
was MSc from IIT Bombay. So he was a very good teacher. So he inculcated a lot of interest in programming. He used to give us like one program every day, ask us to do it in the class itself. And like I said, computer was a rare commodity. Like we get access to computer for 1 hour in the whole week. So we will have to make use of the time to write efficient code something works. So so he was the main inspiration for enjoying the computer science journey there.
Right. So as you mentioned IIT, right? So you have also done your MTech from IIT, right? So just a curious, how much did you score to be eligible for entering an IIT, and how do you think that IIT has contributed to shaping you into individual, or you can say the contributor that you are now today for the whole economy of developers? Like what has IIT played? Like how much important role has IIT played, and how was the
Yes.
life basically there?
Yes. That's totally different world. I highly recommend that experience to everyone. So, so one more thing that I wanted to tell you, when I was in BTech second year, that's when I
Okay.
lost my father. So,
Oh, sorry.
so that was like a very difficult moment for us. So in the final year, I got through campus placement in one of the service-based companies. So like most of the top 20 in my college did. I was the top second in my college that time. So
Wow.
I came home as usual, like feeling happy that yeah, I got the campus placement. But my mother was very happy. She was very upset when I came back. So she said, "This is not your end goal. You should aim for companies like Microsoft or Google." And I'm unhappy that you are just satisfied with this company. And my brother was already doing MTech in IIT Bombay then. So he called me in the evening and he said, "This is an experience that you should uh, come and experience it." So IIT is a totally different world. So I would recommend that you keep the job in hold and still work for the MTech. So that night I
Okay.
made up the decision. Like, okay. Initially I was tempted that yeah, I got the job, so I'll move it here. Like, why should I? But the thing, when I thought back, also I had a lot of appetite to learn more. So even the concept like artificial intelligence was very slightly introduced in our BTech final year.
Introduced.
So I
Correct.
was somehow not happy. So I wanted to explore more. and also during those days there is not enough resources available in the internet or any this thing, right? I used to go to library and read as many books as I could in my college library, but still I had the thirst to learn more. So that's when I said, okay, that's it. I'm going to keep the job aside. I'll pursue the MTech. So I had given GATE, and
Okay.
my GATE score was 55. And in fact, a couple of girls from my college made to IIT Bombay that year. So we both were roommates at IIT. So that was again one of the biggest life-changing event. And life in IIT is something that you can't explain; you just have to experience it. And
Understood.
the people, especially my, that was the first time when I was out of my comfort zone, out of my town, went and stayed in the hostel. You have to stay in the hostel even if you are staying
Okay.
locally. So the hostel experience and the friends. So, and of course, the teaching methodology in IIT is like, yeah, they will throw you in the water. You just have to
Water.
figure out how to come out from the water, right? You have to learn swim. No one is spoon feeding you to say, yeah, this is how you have to swim, right? So first semester was really, really very hectic.
Okay.
But the best thing about that was my friends. So I had one of my friend, and then one day I was very, very, very sensitive back in then, coming from like that kind of background. So one day I was like crying because I got some less marks in some subject, and my friend consoled me. So after that period got over, I asked her how many marks you got. She got less than me. So so it was like eye opener for me, right? And also the kind of friends that I had back then were uh, very much selfless, and then something that you can
Correct.
own for the lifetime, right?
Right.
And
So,
as professors, it's like you can't talk to the professors. You really have to be like the knowledge levels are next to maximum, right? The kind of questions that they give. So I'll tell you, there were instances where we had open time and open book exams. So the
okay.
professors were so confident that you go get whatever books you want, you get whatever time you want, but still you can't solve these questions.
Still
So
like so hard questions. Like you have to still put your time and brains, even if it's open book.
yes. So you will have to think, and you will die thinking. So that is the level of. So they will help you stretch your brains. So usually in our in most of these education systems, we will constrain our brain because there is a fallback plan. I know these are the
Mhm.
important questions. I'll study them, or I know that these are the formulas, so I'll play with them, right? But there you just have to rely on your brain and improve on the logical abilities. So that is a big change in my thought process. So logical
Right.
thinking, yeah,
So
stretch to your
so IIT basically shaped your thinking and your you can say how you solve problems basically. So in
yes.
this whole journey in IIT, right, when you were studying and everything, like did you participate into any hackathons or competitions, or
Hmm.
like if you could just talk about some, you can say, remarkable achievements in IIT
Hmm.
that you did, right?
So we did not have the concept of hackathons then, but I was the computer secretary for our hostel. So
Hmm.
our hostel was like exclusive for women who are PGs and PhDs. So we had a small computer lab, and most of the girls used to use the computer lab for just chit chatting. Yahoo Messenger opens up, and then they used to chat.
Yeah, so
So we
that was the
said,
era of Yahoo Messenger.
yeah. So we said, "Yeah, this is not the effective way of utilizing it, and then they have to learn using the computer." So we actually negotiated with the upper management, got new servers for the computer. We have set up Linux and created logins for everyone. Forget, like there were no logins for students till then. They used to use a public domain for Yahoo Messenger.
It's open for
So
everyone.
same thing for everyone. It's open for everyone. So we also organize like Linux workshops, and then we provide a lot of computer literacy uh, within that hostel premises. So that's one thing. And we also created a website for the hostel, and then we created an alumni page and added all our names to the database so that that the database will remain intact. So that's one thing that we did. That was one of the best experiences. We told them what more they can do than just using the Yahoo Messenger, right? Linux workshops and all. So that was one good thing.
Correct.
Um, then in the final year, the third semester, it was like, of course, we were part of teaching assistants, so we had to manage the course. We used to be like senior TAs for a course called CS 101. That is the first course that most of the students, BTech first year students, take up. So I was junior TA in the first semester. I was senior TA. So we used to manage the course for around 700-800 students. So we used to manage the logistics, starting from like giving them the exams and then preparing their.
Correct.
So that was one of the best experience, because like in IIT campus, wherever I used to roam, there used to be students who will run to me and say, "Ma'am, Didi, how are you?" So.
Okay.
The teaching, I think that was one of the seed for me, which showed me that yeah, I will really enjoy teaching and being with the students. So that I think is one of the memorable experience for me from those days.
Uh, Amazing, amazing. So as you all all the folks who are in the audience, right? Anyone, if you are from IIT Bombay, right? We have Soudamini here, who is from IIT Bombay. So I guess you must have met her. If you have met her somewhere or if you have interacted, please put up you can say hands up in the chat. And yes, we'll be hearing more about her from our college days. So Soudamini, next I'd like to take I can say I'd love you to take us on a tour from your journey from as a student to becoming a software engineer to switching to the biggest, you can say, brands, the biggest company that student dream of going into, and then pivoting your role to becoming a data scientist and mastering that whole forte. So how has that been? How is the whole journey for you, and what are the, you can say, important milestones that you accomplished over the whole years?
I'll try to keep it brief because that's a 20 years journey, and then I'll try to summarize it at
Correct.
regular these things. So, so Microsoft was not going to campus back then because India Development Center was very small. It consisted of less than 200 people, and also so that year 2001. So when I said that I got a placement with a service based company, that company did not give the offer letter for 1.5 year for all the people.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
because the recession got hit that year. So that, like, my career started with the recession,
So
but luckily
which year
I
are
got
we talking? Which year are we talking about?
2001, and then I passed out from MTech in 2003.
Three.
So all my friends who got placements through that company, they had to wait for like 1.5 year, by which like I graduated from IIT. So that was one good thing that happened. Then in 2003 also the scenario was not that great. It was just picking up. So I got into a second company that came to the campus. They were all Pune based companies. So I joined in that organization for 3 months. And somehow that I did not enjoy the work culture, or did not enjoy the company culture there. I I was not radically looking for a change, but then I felt that somehow that's not the place for me. I tried to. The reason is because the kind of culture that we were in IIT was like we had to work 24/7 through new challenges every
Correct.
day, right? So we were used to that, what you call work pisachi or work or workaholic, right? We were workaholic. And when I
Workaholic,
came
like
back, very much. So when we came here, I felt that the kind of jobs that I was given, I could do like very simply. I mean, I expected a bigger challenges or bigger tasks to handle, and even so, then I did not go to the leadership and say I'm not enjoying the work. Give me something challenging, because I was just there. So I was trying to take all the opportunity that comes to my way and then trying to make a difference there. So, for example, there was one scenario where the leadership and everyone said there was a bug found 2 days before the
mhm.
release, and everyone said, "Yeah, you can. We can't do anything about it. We will try to negotiate the contract." So that scenario is still in my mind, but I did not want to give up on that. Though everyone is saying, yeah, this one we can give up. I secretly sent a mail to that software person seeking the support guys to understand what is happening. And then I worked on the fix and it actually worked. So
Okay.
miraculously, like that day when the upper management was talking, they were in a meeting with the client to explain them that they can't support it. I went outside the room and then I waved the manager and said, "Hold on, that is working." So those were like some moments which I really enjoyed. But I felt I needed more such challenges. I had the capacity to do more and I wanted to grow more. So
Understood.
that's when one of the consultant uh, messaged us from IIT Mumbai website. Our names were still alive. So they messaged to all of us saying, yeah, Microsoft is looking for an opportunity. The interview is in Delhi. So that's all I knew about Microsoft. I had no context what Microsoft that he was talking about. It is development center or support center, whatever it is, right? But I felt, yeah, this one seems to be an interesting opportunity. It was less than 3 months from the
Okay.
time I joined the company, but I was in the probation period for 3 months.
So what was the role that you like signed up for the initial company? What was that
It was a
role?
software engineer, the initial role of being a software engineer. So it was a more of a support kind of role where we were
Helping softwares of
migrating,
correct.
yeah, doing a migration so from one architecture to another architecture.
Okay.
So, so when I saw that, I asked to check with all my friends, and
Mhm.
they were all happy, and they were like, "We are not looking to go there, right?" But so I wanted to go, and my mother supported me. So this was in Delhi, and Delhi was very new to me. I haven't been to Delhi before, so and also I was just 2 3 months into the job, right? Not enough money also. Back then, I was not even aware that Microsoft would sponsor the tickets. So I
Wow.
went and bought the train tickets. Reserved myself, and then we landed up in Delhi. And then when we landed up in Delhi, we asked the rickshawala like give us some local cheapest hotel, lodge kind of thing possible. We had to trust him. So now still I don't know how we could trust him to get to that place. And he showed us a small room which was for $400, and then we stayed there. So next day morning was the interview. Again, like I said, I had no contact from Microsoft, only through
Mhm.
consult. So he said the interview is in Taj Palace. So that was around at 9 o'clock. So I reached the place by 7 o'clock, just in case.
Okay.
I don't know whether this
Better to
is.
be early.
So I went there and met the HR and then got the confirmation that yeah, it is really Microsoft who is taking the interviews. So to explain the situation back then, right? So I did not have breakfast till then, and it was Taj Palace, so I could not afford to eat in Taj Palace, of course. So we walked for like 2 3 kilometers on the road till we find some puri ka dabba, puri bandi outside, had breakfast and came back. So yeah, so that those were some of the memories if I recollect right, that makes me feel good. Like yeah, so we went through those kind of hurdles to um pass through the interviews. So there were 4 rounds of interviews, and in fact, for the last interview, my train was like scheduled 1 hour from then. So I told the
Hmm.
interviewer that I have only 30 minutes to spend for the interview. Give me the problem fast. I'll try to solve it in 30 minutes and I have to catch the train. So yeah, so I could solve it in the 30 minutes. Usually the interview time is like 15 minutes, right? So solved
Okay.
it and then ran to the train, and then it was like a Janta Express or something, some very like small train. So we did not get any food to eat for till we reached Pune. And before I could go to office, I received the email that yeah, you got selected from Microsoft.
Wow.
So
This is
incidentally, that was my last day of the probation period. That was in 3
okay.
3
Okay.
2003. So I joined in 3 3 2003, and then that was the last day. So immediately went to my manager and said, yeah, I'm leaving and I'm resigning. So yeah, that was
So did you tell
a
him? Did you give him the news that you're joining Microsoft?
yes. Immediately I told him, and then from the next day I did not go to the office. So
Wow. But the
so
whole
that
story
was
that you
quite
said,
an
right? It's quite inspiring, like just listening to you talk about the whole struggles, because I guess this is what I guess everyone who dreams, right, of achieving. And I guess to you it was like a, like as you said, you did not know about Microsoft, but you had that confidence in yourself ki, okay, as you mentioned, right, you talked back to HR ki, okay, I have a train to catch, but I'll still solve your problem in the less time that you have. I'll try to manage that level of confidence. You're like that, having that kind of confidence in your knowledge and your capabilities is something that you can, pass anything that comes to you. And just listening to this is inspiring, that the whole process of not knowing about what Microsoft is, to catching a train, to finding a rickshaw wala, to finding a small room, and to not be able to even eat breakfast because just of the cost and finances that we struggle with, right? And then to cracking it very easily just because the struggles that you have faced and the study or the effort that you have put in your college days, I guess that is just commendable. And it is like a wow factor. And I guess a lot of students would also feel like this, okay, this is something that we should start working right now, because if it's too late, it's too late. Like you are just
Yes.
losing on the opportunities. Like right now is the
So
time where you can
that is a courage or adventure, right? Now, if I think now, probably like if you are more aware of the scenario, right? There will be 4 rounds of interview. It will be difficult and all. It would have been difficult, but then I went with the unknown. So I don't know what they are going to ask. I don't know how I'm going to solve it, right? Sometimes I think that is a boon. If we think too much, plan too much, sometimes it can also get complicated. So I think the unknown was the biggest asset at that point in time.
amazing. Okay. So, yeah. So, talking about the interviews, right? As you mentioned, you did not know anything about what is the interview process at Microsoft and everything. But were there any specific preparations or strategies that, or you can say the last minute revisions of what did you prepare, just like whether in a train or just
See,
before applying for Microsoft?
usually, like even for other placements, it was all coding. It was only
Okay.
coding then. Knowing binary search trees, linked list, data structures, and then doing the thorough coding, that was all what expected. So that day, that night before the interview, I actually went to a cyber cafe and then searched Microsoft interview questions. Right, and
Okay.
then they also gave me some clue like, these are the kind of questions they are going to ask it. So I was just thorough with all these data structures and programming. That's all. In my first round of interview, they asked a puzzle, and I mean, you can't prepare really for the puzzles, right? You just have to strike at that point in
Correct.
time. And after that, the questions were on, say, for example, build a memory manager, and then you
Mm-hmm.
you have to use like LRU algorithm, for example. How do you implement it? So those were the questions asked, and the interviewers were very very good. They were like head in their particular division. So the interview experience was also something very very unforgettable. So the it also depends on who is taking your interviews, right? So they had
You have
like
to be lucky.
very good subject matter expertise. Still they are very humble and modest, and they are trying to help you understand the problem and be there with you while you are solving it. So that the atmosphere also, I think, is a good contributor for the this thing.
Right. So, like, if you could just help out with what types of interview, like you mentioned 4 rounds were there, right?
Hmm.
What were these 4 rounds? Like, if you could just talk
So
about.
usually, like because I was also part of interview panel for more than 12 years with Microsoft. So
Okay.
usually the 4 rounds of interviews will be on coding and design round, and there will be 4 or 5 parameters that are given to us. The first thing is IHP, intellectual horsepower, then problem solving. So problem solving is not necessarily like given a question and you are trying to solve it. It's all about how you are solving the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the common mistake that most of the people do is once we give the problem to them, they jump into implementation directly because they are so eager to code. But the
Correct.
reason why the problem solving is a different area, because we genuinely keep it ambiguous. We will not reveal all the details, and that's why we want the students or the interviewers to ask us the questions like, what does this mean? How this scenario should be handled, how that scenario should be handled. Ask all the precise and clarifying questions and how they approach to the solution, that is the problem solving. So approach also plays an important role than the solution. So that's what is problem solving. And of course, coding needs to handle all the scenarios, and then they need to handle all the cases. It needs to be neat and clean. And design. So design is not so much important for the early stage of students. For them, it means like using data structures, knowing which data structures to use, etc. As you grow, like see at seniority level, system design plays an important role on that. So these are the essential 4 5 parameters that you need to take care in the interview process.
So as just to summarize, you mentioned design thinking, system design, DSA is important, and problem solving skills, right? Very, very important. Basically, the core knowledge of programming and around it,
Hmm.
right? So
Yes.
on the same note, like as you mentioned, you have been around close to 12 years, if I'm not wrong, on the hiring panel for
Hmm.
Microsoft, right? So
Hmm.
in the whole experience that you have been on the panel, right? What do you look apart from this programming skills in an candidate while hiring? Like, if you like
Hmm.
apart from the technical skills, what is that you observe as a recruiter
Hmm.
sitting on the other
Hmm.
side? If you can just talk about that.
So Microsoft interviews do not have any behavioral interview as such, but when we are doing these interviews, we try to tend to observe the behavior a lot. So behavior means like how passionate the person is towards technology. So sometimes we tend to give some open-ended questions and case studies kind of problems using which we will try to understand how much knowledge the person has, or how much passion the person has. So that plays an important role. And secondly, we also will have conversation on the projects that they have worked on. So when they discuss about the projects, we try to tend to ask deeper questions. So we will understand like how much conceptual knowledge they have. The fundamentals is very important. At least for the areas that they have worked on, how much in-depth knowledge that they have. Or they just patched up things and made it work, or they really know what are the blocks that they are working with, going deeper into the problem space. That is a important key there.
Okay, so yeah, so on the same line of hiring, right? So
Hmm.
currently I see a lot of students, specifically LinkedIn, people spamming with certification, this certificate, that certificate, every small certificate. So from hiring perspective, right, do you think that industry certifications or specialized training certifications, companies like Microsoft, do they consider that proof of you becoming like you knowing things, or is it more skill based, like having skills or portraying the skills by solving something is more important? Like, what is like certifications versus skills is my
Hmm.
question basically.
So at Microsoft, skills is not the buzzword. So the idea is that you should be able to learn any skill. So if I
Okay.
consider my whole career at Microsoft, I started with COM, C Sharp, and then I transitioned into Windows, and then I worked on Bing Search, and then data science, right? So Microsoft also has a lot of their proprietary internal tools. So
Okay.
like the outside world of like I need to get this certification, that certification, those kind of things do not much matter to Microsoft, because what they are looking for is someone who can come and learn whatever is there, and then try to build the products using those frameworks. So for us, the buzzword is you should be able to learn anything, learn the skill so
So
that you will
hunger.
learn. Yes,
So it,
that is
it's
important.
basically the hunger and the spark that it is like every time you should be on your toes to learn something new.
Huh. And also, given a new problem, thrown a new problem, your problem solving, that's why the problem solving is important, because you are thrown a random problem, then how you approach to that problem and how you streamline the problem and come up with the solution. That is important. Most of the times,
And
they will be ahead of the market. So they will be working on problem service. There is no solution outside. So they will be the head starters for the solving the problems, right? So that's why having that kind of mindset is more important.
okay, so I guess this would be something helpful for the students who are watching this. And just to help you out, guys, I'm going to ask Soudamini ma'am directly that what is that you would suggest for students who are I know there is no definitive answer here that you have already cleared out, but any few specific areas with the students should focus more in their initial days of becoming a developer in terms of coding, non-coding, or skills that you mentioned, right? What is those core areas that they should focus more and master? And if you could also suggest few resources, okay, there are some like hacker rank or lead code where they can practice, and does that actually help? And like
Hmm.
basically to guide them so that they can get started right today, and so that they
Yes.
have that aim of going into big companies.
Yes, yes. So coding is number one skill. There is no substitute for it. By coding, I mean take any problem and you are able to convert it into a solution. And the code needs to be perfect in terms of performance. And you need to like what kind of data structure needs to be used for solving this problem and how do you make it more efficient. It's again, it's not like a ratta marify like this is the algorithm that I'll try to mop this algorithm. That will not work. So you have to inculcate the thinking. So there are a lot of resources like Lead Code, Geeks for Geeks. These resources are there. So some people come and tell me like there are overwhelming number of problems that are present there. How do I go about it, right? So of course, practice is what important. Like if you practice like one problem at a day, then you will build that mastery. Initially, you will have need to have patience because it will not come for the first time. And some people ask like how do we come up with that algorithm or what kind of pattern that we use to need to solve this problem, right? So try to break it to patterns. Recently I've seen some website called Sieve where they were breaking it down into patterns like okay, for duplicate related questions and this is how you will solve it. So those kind of things would help for people who are starting for the preparation. But the eventual goal is all about taking any problem and writing a picture perfect code that works all the time. So remember all these corner cases and all these different scenarios that you need to handle, and also the efficiency, how do you make it performant. So that those are the two important things. And even now I talk to the hiring managers in Microsoft, so they tell me the same thing like we are not getting students with good quality coding, right? So that is still a complaint from the hiring manager. So focus on that. And that should become, coding should become like a hobby or lead coding and lead coding. So that's the important thing.
I guess it is all about code day night and master what you can, right? So I guess
Yes.
that would give a lot of insight into what goes something close, because see, what I have learned talking to experts like you is there is no definitive hiring, you can say, structure that we could decide for any of these companies, because as you mentioned, you have to be lucky, because it all depends who is sitting in front of you, what depth they can ask you to, and you have to answer accordingly. You should not boast, because that could also lead you into some problem. Like he might ask you a following question and you could get into
Hmm.
you are basically digging a hole for yourself and you might lose on the chance, right? So moving from
So
the
instead of
hiring part,
calling
right?
lucky, I would say presence of mind is important. So you
Presence of
should have
mind, yeah.
presence of mind. Don't get stressed. Be open. Don't go with predetermined thought process. For example, some people think that yeah, they will ask this question and then they will be prepared with the answer. They won't focus on what the interviewer is actually asking. So go with the free mind and then tackle the problem as it comes, and then keep your presence of mind cool and stay calm. That's all.
Right. So I guess students, that is, I guess, the insights that we could get out of Soudamini about hiring. We'll touch base towards the end again for all folks about guiding and
So one more
about
thing that I
career.
would like to add, so because
Okay.
I have also hired for data scientists, so some people would ask like, what is the difference between hiring for software engineer versus data scientist? So for data scientist, I'm only talking about the product-based companies, not like other organizations, because I have more familiarity with that process. So still the coding and the system design is important for machine learning or data scientist interviews also. So in addition
Okay.
to that, you need to have fundamental knowledge on the machine learning. So by fundamental knowledge, I would say the building blocks that are used for machine learning, whether it is transformers or neural networks, you need to have deeper understanding on those. So that is one delta, and coding and design still will carry equal weightage in the machine learning rounds also.
Right. So we'll
Coding quality could be little. The quality evaluation for coding is not that strict as for software engineer. It can be slightly lesser. In case
Mhm.
if you have a good machine learning skill, that could substitute for this part.
So skill is
But
basically important, that you should know how things are solved or how things
yes.
work behind the scenes as well. Correct. Right.
So
So
like
moving
even in
from
DSA, sorry, even for DSA, like understanding these building blocks, which are linked list or data structures, is important. Same thing for machine learning. Understanding those basic building blocks is very important.
correct.
That's
So
what.
all this about hiring, I guess that would help all the folks who are watching this, and I guess you have taken notes of what Soudamini has informed. You can say given knowledge about on the hiring. So just on the note, since we're on the topic of Microsoft as I guess a very important part of your career, and you have spent around I guess 17 years across two different departments, or two or more, maybe from software to data science. So I'll come to that. But before that, all thing, right? The fancy question that everyone is very excited: how is the life at Microsoft? So I guess a lot of students would be excited to know about this, and I myself want to know. I have heard from a lot of guys and experts that I talk to. But as per you, right? Because we have heard about crazy, you can say things, wow factor and all that stuff. So how is like, let me reframe this. Like how does your day start at Microsoft? Like from a morning to evening shift, right? What is all that happens once you enter the office?
Yeah, so it will be a lot of happening, right? So something or the other keeps happening at Microsoft. There is a hackathons, or there are a lot of events for students, academia related or industry related or skilling for the employees. So it is going to be eventful more or the less. Coming to the work, because like I said, we will be working on the problems for which there is no solution available in the market at that point in time. So I worked on a product called Data Protection Manager as my first product. So that was for enterprise backup and restore solutions. The first product that was the first product that we launched from India. So after that, I worked on the Windows 7. So working on Windows was one of the biggest dreams at that point, and it is equally complex because the quality wise, Windows has like very higher bar in terms of quality,
Correct.
and the churn and the number of dependencies. Like there will be a lot of check-ins for across different teams, right? We need to make sure that the quality doesn't go toss. And I was the lead for the Windows 7 team on the testing side, so I was the test lead for that. So initially, I started my career as software development engineer in test. So that was a peer job for software engineer. So we were
Okay.
responsible for building the test frameworks, infrastructure, right? So that designation is no longer existing with Microsoft. It was existed because there were waterfall models. So every product used to take like 3 to 4 years to come up. So we were there to ensure that we build these frameworks. Like I had built some things like uh, time machine or library simulator. So there was enough time to be creative and find bugs in the product by being creative on that part. So initially I started my journey as that, and after half of the journey, after Windows 7 released, I moved to Bing search engine. And
Okay.
Bing search was like like very early stages at that point in time. Like the check-in process was also not fully done. So that actually had given me a lot of exposure to the data science world. And it's a agile model, right? So that was a shift from agile to waterfall model to agile. So there was no concept of testing in the Bing search engine because the release used to be like 6 months, then 3 months, and then 1 year, and finally it was like daily production. So you can ship on daily basis. So here, so that's when we had to go into the production quality and then work on the product issues. So I worked on the UX side, I worked on the service side, I also worked on the data side. When I worked on the data side, I felt good because there is a lot of ambiguity there, and I'm the person who likes a lot of ambiguity. So uh, I worked on the ambiguity space. So, coming back to the question of how the day works in Microsoft, so initially so we will think about this product, and then the PM will come to us, the program manager will come to us and say, yeah, this is the product that we are building, and these are the engagement metrics that we will try to improve when we release the product, right? So we'll have a daily scrum where we will discuss like what are the challenges that everyone in the team is working on, and then we will discuss the design. How do we build the design? How do we build this module? What are challenges we are facing? And then of course we will have lot of dependencies. So we'll have to work on the dependencies, talk to the corresponding teams, whether they are in India or in US. So every day we have to make one step towards making the product live. So that's all the collaborative. So meetings also needs to be very crisp. So we'll not have like elaborate conversation in the meeting. Yeah, this is the agenda, and what do you think? What do you think? Yeah, done, close, and then we will work on solving that particular problem. Everyone will go back and work on those. So that's how the day works.
So coming on this, like you talked about how the team works in Microsoft and how your day is, but just like a curious question, like if there is a new member or new joinee in Microsoft, like some like let's talk about your day one at Microsoft. So when you joined initially the day one, like how was that day, like because you were very old, like you can say completely new to the whole environment, as you mentioned. I guess on the basis of what you have mentioned, it would be nothing different from the movie like called like the Wolf of Wall Street, like broker's office, right, where there are a lot of people running here and there, a lot of chaos. Is it like that, or is it calm and composed like we see all the corporates?
It's very calm and composed. It's not that chaotic, and the people are very good. So one thing that I really liked about Microsoft was the people, because everyone cares about everyone else. So it doesn't matter if you're a new hire and you come up with an idea, and I that happened with my case also. Like if the new hires come up with an idea which will work, and then we accept it. For us, making the product with good quality is important. It doesn't matter who is giving the idea, who is contributing. So new hire is equally treated as an experienced person. There are no uh, politics or no filters involved. Everyone can equally contribute to the product. Everyone can equally share the ideas. So that
that's
uh,
that's
so
amazing.
yes, so everyone is treated with equal respect. So that culture is actually, that is a different culture, right? Where, and sometimes in the interview also they give us this thing, right? If you
Mhm.
find a person who is smarter than you, hire immediately. So
Okay.
everyone follows that principle. This is smartness is valued, solving the problem is valued. So that's why the collaboration is valued than any of these hypocrisies or any of those politics. So that's the best part.
Great. So like you talked about a team culture and everything, right? So and you're also part of a lot of main projects now. I actually feel, you can say, blessed to be talking to someone that's contributed into Windows 7, because that was one of my, you can say, favorite operating, like after XP we all loved 7. A lot
Yes.
of versions like Vista and everything, it was not for everyone. Even
Yes.
8 was not for everyone. Then we had like major would be XP 7 and then 10, right? And
Yes.
now
I
it
had
is on a
also worked
20.
on Windows 10. So
Wow.
I
So
was
I'm you can say I'm very, you can say, lucky to be talking to you today. Someone who has built that whole OS and our go-to OS basically, right? And the crazy things that we could do in Windows, right? And just like wanted to understand like all the projects that you have worked on, data protection, Bing, Windows, which and maybe more, right? Which was the most challenging project for you in all of those, like
Hmm.
where you are, you can say, tested to the core or tested to the limits as a contributor, right, or a lead. So
Hmm.
what which was the, you can say, the toughest or the most challenging project for you?
Yeah, toughest was definitely Windows 7, because the feature that we were trying out was backup and restore feature on Windows 7. So even when
Okay.
the system gets toasted, how do we bring
Hmm.
it back? How do we repair it and bring it back? Right? That is a crisis scenario. If someone gets into the situation, there should not be fallback. There should not be scope for bugs. They should get their system back, right? So
Correct.
it was very challenging also because we had to automate that whole process. So to test that it is working, even in the Windows repair environment, we had to create that simulation and then verify those things, right? And also that required understanding the file system level, how the file system starts structured inside the Windows and how that thing works. So, and also I became lead at that point in time for the first time. Like I was 4 years into Microsoft, and then they offered the lead position. And without much knowing, I said, "Yeah, sure, okay, this is a good opportunity, so let me take it." And I was also pregnant at the time with my second kid, so that was the, I would say, most challenging project ever. And incidentally, like I sent that email that yeah, we are releasing Windows 7 and I am signing off on this particular feature for Windows 7. That was my last email before getting into maternity leave. And
Wow.
my son was born on 7th. So everyone used to say this is a product of Windows
Coincidence.
7. So,
Uh,
so
so I
yeah,
guess
that was
it's like
most
in
challenging.
your case, I guess a lot of dates have been matched. Like you mentioned, I recollect you mentioning 333, which was the
Uh,
day I guess you got the job at Windows. Sorry, Microsoft. I guess 3rd March 2003, if I'm not wrong.
yeah, I stayed for 3 months
Right.
and left there. And then,
Yeah,
yeah,
and then again,
Microsoft.
and Windows 7 on 7, something of that
Yes.
sort, right? So that is again crazy thing. Uh, Coming to like, as you mentioned, like Windows 7 being the toughest thing, right? And then going forward from there, and I guess, and you also mentioned that as a woman, like you have a lot of responsibilities apart from just working, right? So how did you manage like work life balance? I'll come to the other parts in another segment, but majorly all the stress and also making sure your mental peace and everything is taken care of. I have two questions on this. First is, how did you as an individual manage to keep your work life and your personal life separate? And secondly, what policies or what you can say rules or regulation does Microsoft has like had that time in place to make sure that we are not, as you toast Windows, you are not toasting the employees. Okay, you are not, fusing them off. So what all things from both the perspective, from an individual perspective as well as the company perspective, what were the things?
Hmm. So, as an individual, you need a support system. So, there is no denial of that. So, you need a support system at home. For me, my biggest pillar was my mother and
Hmm.
my husband. So, they all understand that, yeah, you have to give this much time at work. So, there were not many expectations from me at the home side. So, I used to manage the logistics. My mom used to take care of my kids. So if I was at peace at home, I could have spent more time at work. At the same time, initially it was difficult, but eventually you will learn the art of prioritization, right? So when you
Okay.
are at work, you will know, like, is this meeting really important? You will be very you will prioritize and plan that for achieving the task, how much interaction do I need to do, how much work I need to do, what are the blockers. So every day morning you wake up and then you know that yeah, this is what I'll do today, and what are the interactions that I need to do. You go to the work and then you finish those meetings very quickly with the quick agenda, and then most of my work used to happen after coming home. So I'll leave home a bit early to manage the traffic part, and then work all the thing that I need to do at an individual level. So the prioritization is definitely important. So for women, the prioritization includes things at home, things at work. So you have to create a over level of prioritization, considering all the scenarios. So that is a skill that you will master over a period of time.
And
And
from
from
the
policy,
company's perspective.
yeah, company culture perspective, work from home, that was a very big boon. So even the remote culture was very prominent. At Microsoft, my managers were very flexible in terms of they know that I'll deliver this. So it really doesn't matter to them whether you are delivering it from home or delivering it work. So we need to know what is the efficient method to get it done. So they had provided the flexibility to use the work from home. So I used to do like 1 day work from home in a week. So even though it was not formal, that's how
Mhm.
informally the managers used to give me that flexibility. And a
True.
lot of training, this is important. So they provide lot of training for women especially. Look, the kind of person that I was, like I was very shy, and I will just do the task that was given to me. I'll not talk much, right? So that was the kind of person I was when I entered Microsoft. So there were a lot of soft skill training, and also we were also given like executive women leadership training exclusively for women who are in the higher bands. So that those kind of training also helped us a lot in terms of understanding the common prototypes or stereotypes, and then how to overcome them by meeting the women who are already who are like above us, and then who are in the leadership team. So they used to give us talks, and of course mentors. So I had very good mentors who helped me in the challenging and difficult times. So yes, a lot of support system that
So
we'll need.
just on this note, right? Was there any situation, or you can say an incident where you had to make a tough call, because like I'm talking about some anecdotes in your whole career, especially where you were expecting a baby, right, where you had to manage work and family at the same time, where there was also work pressure, but at the same time you had to manage a lot of things at home. How like any one incident, if there is, and
Hmm.
how did you navigate it?
So of course there will be low moments and there will be high moments. And like I said, when I released the Windows 7, that was one of the challenge things. And then my promotion was due at that point. And because I was going for maternity break, my manager said, "You come back, and then we will talk about it." And then the manager changed, the expectations changed. So the promo got delayed during that point. It's manifestation of multiple things. Like it is a project that I was with the management or the team work, right? So that was one of the low points in my career. And at that point, I actually validated myself with the external world. And also one thing that was way back in this thing was there were very limited opportunities for people in product based companies, because Microsoft was there in Hyderabad, Google was not even there initially, and
Correct.
Amazon was just coming up. So even if we wanted to look for other opportunity, there were not many options, right? And also I worked on this backup restore space for a while, so I wanted to know whether there are any openings who will consider this experience, right? So there were very few companies. Again, the intersection was very less. So that's when I understood that. And also in 2008 9 time frame, there was a small round of layoffs also. That's when I
Correct.
got a validation check with the external world to understand, okay, whatever I'm working on, this is good, it's just giving me happiness. But if I have to connect with the reality, how do I do with that thing, right? So that's when I thought I will move to something which is latest, and which will have more future. So that's when I made the call and moved to the Bing search engine. And even if you are doing an internal switch within the teams in Microsoft, you still have to give the 3 4 rounds of interview. So
Okay.
again, I had to give these interviews and move to a new team. So I think that was one of the points which has tested, which was my high vulnerable moment. And then, but after moving to the Bing search engine, I moved back as an individual contributor, because that was a new team, and then I wanted to learn things from the scratch.
Hmm.
After that, there was no stop. So I had very good time in the career after moving to that team. So that was yeah, everything put together. I think I took too many risks at that point in time, personally and
but
also at work.
but it all
But there is
paid
a
off
good
at
learning. Yeah, but the learning was tremendous. So that learning helped me sail through the remaining part of the Microsoft well. So it helped me get into the exceptional zone after that. So yeah, risks pay off. But yeah, it is you lot.
calculative risk. So you have to think through it.
Yes, yes.
Right. On the thing that you mentioned, right, regarding like if you have to even switch internally in Microsoft, you have to go through more
Hmm.
rounds of interviews, right? So in this
Hmm.
whole aspect, right, how important do you think that continuous upskilling and learning is important, even after you have reached a certain, you can say, designation or a stage in your life or at a career path, especially in companies like Microsoft or tech giants, right? How important is that as an
It is
individual?
very important. Like I said, we need to master the skill to learn any skill, because even after in Bing search engine, I had to change a lot of teams. One is I felt that as a person, I will enjoy more if I am learning things from the scratch. So I will
Mhm.
contribute, and then I'll have high energies if I take an ambiguous problem. So the moment that I get into comfort zone, because of the experience in the first half, I realized that I should not stay in the comfort zone for longer time. So
Correct.
the project is given to me, I'll deliver it, I'll make it happen, I'll ship it. After that, yeah, you take the due credit, but then if you stay longer, then you are going to get comfortable. So that's when we need to make the switch. And that sometimes I made the conscious choice of moving and choosing a different project, and sometimes the reorganizations also happen. There is a lot of reorgs that are happening, so it's important to stay on toes, upskilling, learn on the job, and then do the things which will give you like which will keep you learning, right? So that learning curve should always be in the check mark. So we should always be in that learning job. You know, where we can just relax and say, yeah, I'm done, I'm going to take a relaxation from here. So that's not going to work there. So we need to be on constant toes.
So I guess that this should be a second important note for the students who are uh, going to watch this, right? That it is not the end after you make your,
Yes.
you can say, mark and get a job at tech giants. It's also very important to continuously upskill and to make sure that you're always up to date, especially in things like tech, where it's
Hmm.
evolving on a daily basis, right? So moving forward, right? Talking about, you mentioned that as an contributor. Individual contributor and then moving into tech leadership, right? Is it the same thing, or the same time frame that you switched from being a software engineer and entering into the field of data science, or like how that, like, basically let me reframe this. uh, what motivated you to come from, software engineer and to enter into the field of data science, and how was that, like, what are the transition for, like,
Hmm.
why did you
Hmm.
go specifically in data science?
Hmm. So, like I said, I took the leadership role at early stage, and then later in Bing also I took leadership role because that's when I wanted to prove myself, not for anyone, that yeah, I can be a good manager, right? So I was leading a team of 9 people, and that year I also received like a best manager award, and so I was managing the team. So that was again one of the when I became the second time manager, that time I made a lot of conscious choices. So because of the previous experience, I was very aware that how am I going to develop my people? How am I going to deliver this? So we had created a couple of products which received India-wide innovation awards. So career-wise, it was a very high point in the career. But then this reorg happened where they merged, they made it a combined engineering. So they used to call us customer experience team, and then they said now there is no customer experience team. Everyone is going to be software engineers. So at that point, it was not my choice, but I had to switch teams. So one of the managers that I worked previously came to me and said, "Yeah, can you come and work with me? I'm working on this Windows 10 project. This is a data science related work." So one thing I felt was, data science is something which is very ambiguous. Like I said, there is a lot of scope for ambiguity, and then also Windows
Correct.
10. That project was a very interesting project. So that's when I moved as an individual contributor back again and switched to the data science and proper machine learning world.
Got it. So, on the same, like, you have also worked as an individual contributor or as an IC and into lead, right? So, what are the challenges? This is something also not from a company's perspective, but from an developer or a manager's perspective. Like, what are the challenges you face on both the ends as an individual contributor or
Hmm.
IC, or as an lead or manager for a project?
Hmm. So for an individual contributor, one good thing in Microsoft was there is a path for individual contributor till you become architect. Like I was a principal data scientist when I was living, and even I had the scope to continue for couple of levels in the same level in India. So
Hmm.
that was one good thing. So you can choose to be individual contributor, but the impact should be more because you will be again competing with the managers who are taking broader projects and delivering bigger projects. So
Correct.
yes, you will be contributing in depth to your product. In addition to that, you also need to do some initiatives across Bing search engine or across India wide. Like I used to attend conferences and give presentations, workshops. Similarly, like MLOps kind of thing. I was building that kind of product in the Bing wide. So there are additional initiatives that we need to do as a individual contributor. But the good thing is technology is in our hands. Like I
Hmm.
coded till the last day before leaving the Microsoft. So technology will be in touch. I still like coding, right? So that is a comfort factor. But one thing is, for the strategy part, probably you cannot contribute much. So if you want to influence the product decision or if you want to influence upper management, the scope is limited compared to a manager. Whereas manager will have much more capability and capacity to influence the strategy or the product.
Correct.
So there are. This is a good thing in the individual contributor. Whereas for the manager, the challenge is they are not hands-on with respect to technology, but still they are expected to do some hands-on work. At Microsoft, even the managers they need to do code reviews. They need to contribute to technical discussions. Right? You can't just do people management or strategy discussions. So sometimes the people who are coming fresh, like they come with a lot of energy and they want to deliver things, right? So how do we give them interesting tasks and assignments so that they will be motivated? And at the same time, you need to understand what is the product that you are building, what are the business metrics that you are delivering, how do you bind these two, the lower management, like upper management, and also the people at entry level and people who are reporting
Correct.
to you. Managing that is the biggest task, and here you have more power. With power comes responsibility, right? So we need to be
Responsibilities.
strategic. Yes, we need to be strategic to manage these two things. One challenge
Amazing.
that I initially faced was people management. Like
Mhm.
first
I
time
guess
when I
that is the
entered
biggest challenge. That is the biggest challenge, I believe.
First time when I entered the performance review, that day was my nightmare. So
Wow.
till then I haven't seen like how those things work. Now you are associating up with every person, like the person is belonging to this zone or that zone. It was emotionally difficult for me to digest that fact. Yeah, over a period of time I mastered that and then I understood like how to develop my people or about how to give the right set of challenges for the people to be successful in the career path. So that was a biggest transition. So that was a big thing in the management side.
Amazing. So, on the similar load, like while you're managing people as well as projects, right? When like talking about major projects that you are a part of, Windows XP, Windows 7, or Bing search, which is now, I guess, on a tremendous level that it has gone to, right? How,
Mhm.
as a manager or as a part of the team planning this feature or a product, right? How do you put together tools or technologies that you would want to put together, or you can say, to build this particular feature, or what is the life cycle, or you can say the process that goes into building that feature, a small brief on that.
Hmm.
Basically choosing the right tools or right tech stack, and choosing the right methodology or the right process for building
Hmm.
something very complex that is going to impact billions and billions of people, right?
Hmm.
What goes into that?
Hmm. So I'll give you the last project that I worked on. So people can relate to that, which is Shop the Look. So that was in 2016, and we
Hmm.
have a couple of patents on that one. So when Bing also has a shopping page where people can go and purchase, and it's more prominent in US, and people
Okay, okay.
that's a good source of revenue for Bing. So our goal was to lighten up the complete look. So if someone purchases a shirt, how do we show all the other accessories, or how do we show what kind of shoes they need to wear, pant and complete look clothes, so that they can buy the complete look. And now if you go to Myntra, etc., that feature is very much available. That is the one of the most popular feature, right? So when we worked on the project, initially to understand, like we'll come up with two, three different architectures. We tried with GANs, and then we also had good support from the Bing Image team. They had given us the catalog, Bing Image catalog. So we will have to figure out what are the dependency teams who can help us. So we had few discussions with them, and then we collaborated with the Bing Image team, multimedia team. So what they have helped us is like giving us the image catalog, the scraped images from. So we have identified the fashion images from fashion magazines, Instagram, and all these pages, and then we created a graph out of that. So again, to create the graph, one, you will get lot of quality issues with the images, so you need to run bunch of tests to figure it out. Then creating an index of scale, right, at very high scale, so we're building the millions of images, so what kind of in-house capabilities that we need to use, so that is a trade-off. And after building that, now we have to light up in product. So now whether we want to light up in real time or offline, like if
Mhm.
someone takes a picture of their photo and then they want to know what is the look for them, right, so that has to be real time.
Correct.
Whereas if someone searches for item in catalog, they want to see it. So now how much we want to do online and how much we want to do offline, because here the latency is very important, and also cost. So we have to show immediately. At the same time, we can't keep everything online. That involves cost, and that also involves latency, right? So that requires a lot of design thinking in terms of how do we pipeline it, so that how much we can do, how much processing we have to do offline, how much online, what kind of databases to use, where to use it, and then how do we structure the code. So thinking about all of that, and finally when we released the product, we saw that there was a revenue dip because of that. Because after this look, we were giving these requery links, and people were engaging more with the requery links than actually going and purchasing the product. So it has given a dip in the revenue. So again, we had to do few iterations to understand how to improve the revenue of it, and again worked on the design and finally shipped the product, which will meet the required user engagements. Like users should engage more with this feature. At the same time, there should not be dip in the revenue. So those metrics we will do in a flighting, and then we will measure the success, and we'll make the changes. And finally, we release the product, which was like which met the goals that we had set for the product. So that
Wow.
is a whole process that goes behind the scenes.
So all the students who are watching this, right? I guess now you understand. Like, it is building a feature is not just getting right into the code. There is a lot of thinking and reiterating on the whole process and planning that goes before we actually start the first line of code, right? So now I guess let's keep all the coding and software thing at a side. Now on the major thing, right? Just like you've also been like you have, I guess, exited from Microsoft as a principal data scientist. So you have played a very major role as a data scientist also in Microsoft. So in the years that you have worked on data science, right, how would you say that the industry, or you can say the data science as a technology, has evolved back then when you started it and
Mhm.
today, right? The evolution, if you could just talk in brief about like when you started, I believe there was like a very very less data, but now it's like flowing like oil or something, right? So what was
I
the main difference that you see?
So initially, there was also resistance to adopt data science into the projects. So people were so much used to the logic and engineering systems. And
Hmm.
when you suggest that, yeah, I will use this technique and use this data to light up the scenario, there was resistance from the engineering manager, the traditional people, right? So they were like, explain to me how this is going to work, right? With logic, with coding, I know these are the steps of things that you are doing, but you are entering a black box, and you are saying that it will do everything for us. How will it work, right? And also with data science and machine learning, you cannot get 100% results. So it
Correct.
works sometimes, it doesn't work sometimes. So initially people would ask, like, I've given this query, why is it not giving me the required results, right? So to explain them that, yeah, this is not a traditional engineering system, this is a different system altogether. And honestly, like the number of tools, like for example semantic text understanding, when we did that project in Windows 10, there were not many semantic understanding tools available. So we had to work with Microsoft Research to give us some help there. But still the results were not like a 90% above. We had to work on top of that, right? Now if you also ask me, can I with these all these large language models or those things which
Mhm.
are coming up, can I directly put that into my system and will it give me 100% results? That's not true. You still
Right.
have to understand the domain, you still have to understand your data, clean the data, you use a lot of common sense to figure out what kind of data that you are giving to these systems, how you are giving it to the systems, and doing the post processing whatever is needed. So it's not just like traditional engineering systems where you can plug and play. Here, you also need to have uh, insights into the data. So one thing that I'll tell people is when you're working on data science problem, live with the data, read the data, understand the data for 1 month. Just spend time with data. Don't jump into thinking, yeah, I'll use this algorithm or that algorithm. The core of the problem, like solution, lies within the data. So first understand the data. The better the data is, the more genuine the data is, the quality of the product will be much better. So that is a biggest difference, and that's one thing which is not changed. So the focus should be on data and building blocks. Understanding which building blocks that needs to be used to your problem is important, but building blocks will not solve the problem alone. It requires a lot of common sense and domain understanding.
Right. Anything right? As a part of your career in Microsoft, were there any major data science related projects that you took over? If you could tell that how data science decisions impacted things in Microsoft or the projects that you were building, right? And how were they basically?
So data science, as a core data science, it was there in Bing because, like for
Correct.
example, there are multiple dimensions. If someone searches for events, right,
Mm-hmm.
Lady Gaga events or Britney Spears events, we show like the events that are happening. So there were a lot of quality issues in any domain, whether it is a movie domain or events domain. Initially, we used to spend a lot of time in understanding how to catch the quality issues. Sometimes some things can be like by associating multiple attributes, we can figure it out. And for some things, we need external validation. For example, a lot of venue addresses that the third party provider was giving us were wrong. But how do we validate it externally, right? So we have to scrape the external, that particular venue websites, official websites, and then do the cross validation and consistency check. So that's where we spent a lot of time initially on the data cycle. When the traditional machine learning came, the first project that we worked was on Windows 10 and Bing integration. So, like you said, when you had issues with Vista and those things, right? When we wanted users to switch to Windows 10, we wanted to understand what kind of major issues that user faces.
Correct.
So before the release happened, we had this Bing search engine integrated into Windows 10, and we also record the Bing logs. Like it's not stamped with the user identity; only the search logs are stored. So every day we used to process the Bing queries, and then we have the pipeline which will tell us that these are the top technical issues that users are facing. So we build the clustering or topic modeling on that. And those things we used to pass it to the content team or support team, and then they used to write solutions for that. Again, those solutions we used to light up in the answer instant as an instant answer. So within 1 week, if some same user searches for this question, they will see an instant answer. Do this one. Or
Correct.
like there was also one big support issue that happened initially, and we passed it to the support team. They fixed it instantly. So using this power of data, power of queries, we were able to provide much more meaning to the user and provide more meaningful insight. And it gave us more, confidence that, yeah, we know what kind of issues users are facing and we are on across the windows and we are working on fixing the things for users. So that's one thing. And second significant project was on the agricultural space. So at some point, I also felt that let me do something on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So we collaborated with ICRISAT and we worked on a project to know the sowing, to give sowing predictions and advisory to the farmers.
Okay.
So it was like few villages in Andhra. So we collect the rainfall data and weather data on a daily basis from IMD, and we used to run these models consecutively, like there is something called MAI, moisture adequacy index. If it is above certain threshold consequently, then we would send an advisory to the farmers that yeah, this is the right time to sow. So that has enabled and empowered a lot of farmers. And with an experiment, pilot experiment that the EXISAT has organized, it has increased the yield by 30% that year within those villages that we piloted. So again, that's a very ground level work. It's not like a hypothetical scenario. I'm sitting here and then the users are coming and leaving the team, right? So we'll not have much insights. But here, it was a real ground impact that we could witness with the power of data. So there.
That is something commendable, like contributing in the field of agriculture, right? Just a crazy question I have on the thing around data science, right? Have you ever tried, or is it possible to predict lottery numbers? Or basically it's in data science and is into prediction, right? Basically it is nothing but studying old data and giving predictions. It will never give accurate values. It is like a
Yes.
probability, right? So
Yes.
is there any way, or have you ever tried doing this of predicting what stocks to buy or making profit, like if I have to, right, make profit in stock markets, or predicting a lottery number where I can become a millionaire or billionaire? Like is it possible? Like has data science reached to that stage yet? Just
Yes,
a crazy
stock
question.
prediction, if you ask me, like 50% or more than 50% of my mentees come to data science field only to build stocks. Okay,
Wow.
only to predict stocks. So that is one of the biggest aspiration for people to enter data science. And yes, there are a lot of data sets available if people want to try it out. See, the stock market prediction is a good problem because we have a lot of signals,
Correct.
signals about the company information, the technical information, and also from the news feed. So it's all about what kind of data that we are feeding, what kind of features that we are giving it to the system. So your results will be, and I know people who are actually doing it. So that is a very known and popular problem in data science. A lottery ticket, I'm not sure because we do not have many features, right? It's a pure luck kind of thing. There is no data. That's a gambling, pure gambling. We can't do. As long as it has some connotation and some signals, we will be able to do it.
Right. And okay, on the stock market, I guess a lot of students here also are, because of the crazy things happening recently in stock market, right? But
Yeah.
as in general, right? How do you see AI, data science, and machine learning? Because everything comes under data science at the end, right? It's the greater umbrella. Like how you see
Mhm.
data science, machine learning, and AI, and all that models that underlie this, changing different industries, be it finance, health, education, right, or everything, basically management. And how
Mhm.
do you think that everything is going to change with, I guess, the evolution of data science, the rapid
Mhm.
evolution which has
Mhm.
been there in the last couple of years?
I would say generative AI is bringing a lot of evolution in this field. So a couple of days ago, one of my uncle called me. He owns like three, four college schools in the Cambridge University purview across continents. Like he has one in Malaysia, one in Singapore, and one in India. So he called me and asked me like, I want teachers to train on generative AI because now a lot of students are doing projects using Chat GPT.
Okay.
So how do you build that awareness in teachers that yeah, these are possible, and also what they can do with this generative AI to create an effective content, right? Interactive content. So it has gone to that level. Like even in schools now, schools are also thinking how to train the teachers. So I would say it will become like a next to English. That's one thing that I used to tell, right? So it will become very essential skill for everyone, irrespective of whatever role that you are playing. And I was also having a conversation with a startup who are discussing about how to incorporate HR systems using
Hmm.
generative AI, how they can get more meaningful insights in the recruitment as well as in performance using AI. So the conversations are happening across the board. Medical field and finance field are way ahead because there are a lot of startups who are figuring out the same thing, like the intraday tradings, how they can
Correct.
do in these things, right? So a lot of startups are working on it. Similarly, the scan, right? So currently, if you have to do like the KYC, it's all
Hmm.
manual. A lot of
Correct.
manual process involved. How do we automate that? So banking system is will be transforming a lot in the next 2 3 years with all the AI things. And healthcare, of course, it's much ahead. I spoke to like one of the directors of Apollo hospitals recently, and then they are not into like they are into predictive health analytics are gone. Like you can predict whether you are going to get this thing or not. Right now, they also want to apply predictive analytics on genetics. So even before the cancer hits the person, using the genetics data, they want to understand if there is a possibility of getting cancer, right? So preventive healthcare, that's what they are saying. So AI is going to play a big role on that. So across the board, you will see a major transformation. It has already started, and it's going to go exponential. So that's the opportunity for the students to grab, uh, pick up the domain that you are interested in, and then start working on it.
Nice. So on the thing that you mentioned, right, teaching students about how to do their homework and everything. So let's
Hmm.
upgrade. Like since we are into education sector as of now, right?
Hmm.
We also delivered. We visited a few schools and we took
Hmm.
sessions of teachers and students where we
Okay.
taught them about AI tools, GPT, making your projects, solving
Hmm.
your computer problems, like basically creating your C programs in just 5 minutes. Like
Hmm.
basically
Hmm.
solving your winter vacation holiday homework in just one day and taking
Hmm.
the rest weeks off. And that was
Hmm.
something like the response of the teachers was also very positive to that of
Hmm.
adopting to the trends of technology. Even
Hmm.
students, because they were not unaware, like they were basically
Hmm.
unaware of how to use it. So I guess
Hmm.
that is also the adaptability of generative AI as of now, right? Using it to generate content of any form for that matter is very much increasing,
Hmm.
right? So like on the similar load, like as you mentioned, like, every industry is going to be transition or transformed because of AI and machine learning and data science coming into the picture. So there's also a thing going on in the market, right, about AI taking over human jobs or AI ruling the world, all that kind of stuff, right? So as an expert in that domain, spending have spent your almost career in that phase, like what is your take on this one statement, that is AI going to take over the world? Like
Hmm.
it's very like you can say a controversial thing, but still, what is your take on
Yeah,
that?
yeah. So McKinsey has recently conducted a survey, and then they try to figure out the same thing, like what is going to happen to the jobs. So one universal truth is that you always need to do highly competitive work. By high, like if you are doing like a repetitive or manual job which can be automated, so someone who is smarter than you, they will figure out a way to automate it, and then you will be redundant. And even at Microsoft, when we were building products, right, we were taking problem service, there is no solution, and after building the solution, there is no need for us, so we have to go and hunt for a new problem. So uh, anything which has to do with physical, so the report suggested that anyone who is doing physical job, there is a risk there, because those can be taken over by robots in the coming new years, few years. So now the challenge is how you think mentally and how you upskill yourself, and then how your logical ability, that still cannot be replaced. So when we discussed about the product, it's not just about writing code, right? It's about
Correct.
thinking that holistic picture. There are a lot of ambiguities which you can't automate. So that is why everyone needs to get to the next level. So now, if the systems can give you coding, one thing is we should not become lazy to use the systems to give us the coding. We also have to use our brain to figure out, yeah,
Brains.
are you doing the right thing, right? So
Correct.
the mental the ability should not go down. The next thing is we should again upskill ourselves to handle bigger problems and even complex problems. So if you know like GPT-4, it could not solve like JE advanced kind of
Yeah,
thing.
the initial versions, it was not able to pass it.
Because there were complex things. So humans also need to evolve, and now teachers have to give hard questions so that the students should not be um, like doing the like. If it is a very trivial one, then there are answers available. Even AI can answer those. Now it's a hard
Correct.
time for teachers to figure out how they can enhance these thinking abilities in the students.
To
So
basically
that.
summarize, having all these tools just to save yourself and your job, that is basically that you also adopt it early and
Ah,
it is not that it is going to take your jobs, but it is going to just be like a complementary thing that could ease the basic things for you, and you can ride on top of that and make it more productive for the job that
how
you're
you will become, how you will empower ourselves is important. So use
correct.
these tools. So we cannot say in a blindfolded saying, yeah, someone is going to take my job. Use these tools and get to the next level.
So if you
And
don't adopt, then you might lose is something like, because the
yes,
productivity level has of course increased, as in
yes,
talking about the corporate part,
yes,
right? Yep. And I guess on this whole notion of increased use of AI, with a lot of things like, as you said, model learning models coming in, image generation, video generation, all the things, that there
mm,
is a slight issue also that has arisen in terms of talking about privacy and security in
yes,
digital age, right? So and basically it I guess it all comes down to the ethics and morality of the persons who are implementing this things. So as a data science expert, right,
mm,
what would you like to talk about that important thing about moral and ethics, and that fine line that is there, whether you're just
mm,
breaching someone's privacy or
yes,
security thing, right? And how that is impacted with that whole evolution, because I guess it has also given advantage to the users, but also there's some kind of fear also now in that mind of people who are using AI. You are
mm.
always exposed if you do not know what might come to you.
Yes, yes. That fake, like no, all these sensational news that has happened with Rashmika Mandana
Basically
and those.
deep fake things.
So that's very easy now. Earlier, people had to make an effort to make it happen. There were cases earlier also, but now it is easy for anyone to do that kind of thing, right? So the ethics and moral again, responsible AI. That is why it's becoming very important these days, because what kind of data you are using for training, that's very important. S- like biases, right? There are a lot of biases that are there in the data. So with coding, you can write the code, but then even if you don't cover certain cases, it's not going to do big harm. Whereas data has lot of dimensions. The same thing, right? If they are not having enough Indian representation, then they are not giving us the results which are. That's the one thing that they have seen in the generative AI earlier, right? They were not understanding Indian context well.
Correct.
So there are biases and there are this thing. In fact, I'm working with one person right now on this fake news detection. How do we
Mhm.
detect the fake news? It's not just limited to text. Now it is also penetrated in the video and images, right? How do we detect if it is a fake video or
Fake
this
thing.
thing, right? So those also became equally important now. The companies which are investing in this generative AI, they should also come up with the solutions to identify if this is generated or this is the reality thing, right? And also it is a uh, again it is posing risk to art also. So for example, someone used mid journey to create a beautiful art picture and they won the best award. So now
Correct.
all the artists are complaining what will happen to humans. Now AI is getting the award, right? So there are issues, people are discovering them now. And it is also important for the companies to act and then build these systems in place, which will also enable the guards and checks in place against them. And as an individuals, we need to be very careful when we are training a system. What kind of training data we are using? Do we have copyright things? Is it covering all the race, religions, and everything? And it's not biased towards a certain system. So it's responsibility and onus on everyone who is using this generative AI.
Great. I guess that all boils down to one thing. Like it is not like someone else can put a check on it. As an individual while
Ah,
you're working, that is you have to
yes,
be responsible, and you have to like it all depends on your thinking and the
yes.
mindset that you are using the AI for, right? So I guess towards the last segment of this whole podcast, I'd like to ask you one question. Of everything that you have talked about, like is over 20 years of your experience
Hmm.
from starting a journey in tech, had you like planned to do start your career now, right, versus back in those days, like if you plan to
Hmm.
started a journey today,
Hmm.
how would it had been for you, and what would like what would the steps that you would have taken if you were starting right now in 2024 versus back
Hmm.
then?
Yes. So now there is a overflow problem. Earlier there used to be not enough data or not enough guidance for us on the preparation part. Now you will see a lot of influencers on LinkedIn, including me. So there is a lot of data also which is available. There is a lot of content available online. So now people come to me asking, I'm confused. Where do I start? There is a lot of data. Someone says, do this, do that. Where do I start? Right. So one thing which is not changed in these 20 years is basics. So understand the basics very well. Whether the basics can be your algorithms or the data structures or the basics of uh, machine learning. So that part is not changed. The more deep you understand, the good it is. So if you ask me what I would do for the preparation, so I would try to go with the authentic and genuine sources. So for example, if I have to read about a specific supervised machine learning algorithm, I will find out what is the research paper that is talking about it. I'll read the first hand information. So otherwise, there are a lot of people who are reading it and then understanding it and writing content on top of it. That has a disadvantage that they are writing their own inferences on it. So I want to understand from my own perspective. In that case, go and read from the direct sources. And similarly, if you want to know about tools that the company are building, instead of relying on the third party, directly go to that company website, read their documentation, and understand it. That's one thing I would suggest people. And number two is, yes, there are very good influencers. If you ask me, Andrew Ng is the guru for machine learning, and similarly, Alex Yu is the guru for system design. So follow these people who are like very good and standard, and they can give you the right approaches on the techniques. The third thing which is important is practical solutions. Reading theory is good. You need to understand concepts, but as long if you're not putting them into use and you're not building something out of it, you tend to forget the concepts very easily. So third, the most important thing is to try to apply the concepts in a practical manner, and that will give you make you remember for longer, and that will also help you understand things to the depth. So these are the three things that are very important from the learning point of view in the technology space.
So in this whole process, right, after like you, right, after being serving as a veteran in this whole industry, you're also into mentoring. Like you mentor a lot of students, you talk to those folks, help them with the projects. So and you also for, you can say, emphasized on your journey where you said that mentorship helped you. It is all because of good mentors that you're at the
Hmm.
point, along with your efforts, of course. So how important do you think mentorship or finding a good mentor plays a
Hmm.
role in an individual's life, in this whole journey?
Hmm. See, one thing, mentorship is not about making someone like me, right?
Correct.
Because that's not the way. I should not tell them someone whatever I know, and then I should not try to make them like me. The goal of mentorship is to bring the essence in their thing. Like, what are their core skills? What do they really want to do? What are the loopholes? Like, what are the things that they can try? What is lagging in their preparation, right? So understanding that person and showing them the mirror, like, this is what you are, this is what is suitable for you, now you go and explore the path. So I had very good mentors who, like mentors can be very rude. Like, I had a very good mentor who told me very rudely, like, yeah, this is the issue with you. And I could not sleep that night. Whenever I had the meeting with him, I had sleepless nights on the day because he used to make me think.
Correct.
So that is very important. Mentors are not like, yeah, I'll give you 10 resources, you go and figure it out, and then I'll do mock. That's not the goal of the mentorship. The goal of the mentorship is to make you realize your potential, understand what is going wrong, and understand what your strengths are, and give you the right direction towards reaching the goal.
Basically, to
So,
show someone, to show you the mirror. Ki, okay, this is where you're standing, this is where you're lagging, and this is
yes.
why you're not at par with others, and you have to work
Yes.
on it again and again.
Not others, but you are not
Simple like,
reaching the goal because of that. So first of all, most of the people will have confusion to understand what they really want.
correct.
So they will try to see others and they want to become like that. But that's
Mhm.
not the reality, right? You really need to get to the stage where you need to understand what actually you want to do with your life. And that takes years. So what I had the level of thinking when I was in 20s is different from my thinking in 40s, right? It keeps evolving. But understanding that is the first important thing to make any progress.
So I guess that all comes with experience. So coming to the next part, right? Education, right?
Mhm.
Since we are on a mission to change how education is being given, and we are trying with a new BTech and everything in place. But the major thing that we have also seen is the current education system that is prevailing, specifically in our country, right? A lot of students, after even graduating or after getting proper certifications from the college, still face that. Lack of connectivity, or when I say connectivity, is like connectivity between the things that they're learning and between what is being implemented in the industry. So what
Mhm.
is your take on that? Like how ready does the education system make a developer for the industry, like basically when they're studying and getting out of a degree? What is the level, and are we lagging somewhere when we talk about competing with people in Silicon Valley, or competing with developers who are cracking jobs at tech companies or at good companies? Is our education system somewhere, you can say, not at par with what we should have been with the involvement with tech and everything that is happening, right? So what is your take on that?
See, I wouldn't say the skill set is valid like the gap in the Indians, because if you even if you go to Silicon Valley, you will see lot of Indians there. Indians are the
Yeah,
front
that
runners
is
in
people who are going
startup.
from here to there. But
Yes,
I'm
yes.
my
Ah,
question is, people graduating when they complete their
hmm.
basic degree and getting their first job. So there is a huge
So
difference there itself.
So one thing that I've seen at IIT, for example, they made me think, right? They made me, they bring out the logical abilities of the person, and that is very important. So,
Correct.
because I have been in tier three, I know how most of the things work, right? People, if even if they have to submit a project, they will try to get something from the internet and copy that, right? This copying thing somehow is very prevalent these days. Starting from 11th class, even in most small school exams, people started copying. They need to understand that it is only deceiving them than deceiving anyone else, right? So who are you fighting this for? So unless until you build these original capabilities in you to be able to solve the problem, that's not going to help. As an institutions, they need to be very strict on this aspect. Like how do they bring out the skills and abilities on individuals rather than yeah, like sometimes it's difficult even for them to foresee like how this thing is going on, right?
Correct.
Second thing is the practical aspect. So even in engineering the curriculum, there is a lot of theory. Theory is important. Foundation C is important. But in addition to that, to be able to apply them, understand where it is being utilized, because people see a lot of the connectivity missing. I have learned this, but I haven't used in the college, in the job anywhere, right? How do you bring that
Application is missing.
connectivity? Application is important. Then the third thing is the soft skills. So we do, unfortunately, we do not have so much emphasis on soft skills. So
Yeah,
yeah,
we never.
the emphasis on this thing, right? The communication skills. So, the encouragement of someone to discuss their ideas, to be able to communicate what they are thinking, that is very important. Like if you join the organization, that is the key thing. How you communicate to your stakeholders, your team. So those are some of the skills which are missing in the engineering education system. So I think those are some of the important things that we need to emphasize uh, for people to. And it's not only for getting into product based companies, even if they want to build something on their own and become entrepreneurs, those skills are going to be very instrumental.
Great. I guess that was a wonderful conversation, and thank you, ma'am, for actually taking our time. So I guess, guys, whoever is watching this, right? I guess this was very informative for you, and a lot of things that you have learned. Myself, I have learned a lot of things, a lot of key takeaways for me, how you start your career, and what all important things goes into place of building some scalable systems, and ma'am's take on AI and all that stuff. And all the folks who are planning to start their career into data science or as a software engineer, planning to get into tech roles as such big companies, I guess this podcast is going to be of a lot of help to you. And yes, thank you everyone for actually listening out the whole thing. And yes, we'll be getting back to you very soon with another voice from the Silicon Valleys and people who have made an impact in the tech industry. So yeah, today signing off along with Soudamini ma'am from Microsoft.
And
Thank you,
thank you
ma'am.
for
Yeah,
having me. Thanks, everyone. Thanks a lot.
this,
Thanks
this
for
is
giving
this
the
is
opportunity
this
to
is not
share
the
this.
end. We'll be meeting Soudamini ma'am again in some another sessions, and we'll bring her back to actually see her hands-on workshops for you guys, right? Of how to build a few things and few features. And stay tuned for more. And we'll meet you soon again. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and we are signing off. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
So
Bye.
much. Thank you so much, ma'am.